In Disney's 1995 animated film Pocahontas, Governor John Ratcliffe serves as the principal antagonist. Portrayed as a self-serving and ambitious English official, Ratcliffe is driven by a relentless desire for wealth and status. Obsessed with the belief that the land of present-day Virginia is rich in gold, he leads the Jamestown colonists in an aggressive and exploitative campaign to claim it. Reflecting many traits common to Disney villains, Ratcliffe is depicted as authoritarian, vain, and consumed by greed. His character also embodies deep-seated xenophobia and prejudice, displaying overt hostility towards the indigenous Powhatan people. Throughout the film, he is shown to be manipulative, callous, and willing to use violence to achieve his aims, including inciting conflict with the intent of eradicating the native population. Within the film, Governor Ratcliffe is viewed by his contemporaries at King James's court as an opportunistic and ineffectual social climber. His expedition to the New World is portrayed as a desperate bid to salvage his reputation and secure prestige. Convinced that his action serves the interests of the crown, Ratcliffe regards the newly claimed land as his personal domain. His delusions of authority become apparent when in the film's climax, he brands his own men as traitors after they refuse to support his violent actions. This pivotal moment occurs when Ratcliffe attempts to shoot Chief Powhatan, only for John Smith to intervene and take the bullet. Enraged and unrepentant, Ratcliffe accuses Smith of betrayal, but the colonists, horrified by his actions, turn against him and place him under arrest for harming one of their own. Notably, Ratcliffe is one of the few Disney animated villains inspired by a historical figure, the other being Prince John from Robin Hood. While the film's portrayal is heavily fictionalized, the real Governor John Ratcliffe was a more complex and less villainous individual. Historical accounts suggest he sought diplomatic engagement with indigenous groups, and conflict with the Powhatan tribe arose largely from border tensions, including the resistance and hostility of Chief Powhatan, rather than from any attempt by Ratcliffe to pursue extermination. The historical John Ratcliffe, originally born as John Sycamore in 1549 in Lancashire, England, later adopted the surname Ratcliffe as an alias. He played a prominent role in early English colonial ventures, serving as the captain of the Discovery, the smallest of the three ships, alongside the Susan Constant and the Godspeed, that embarked on the 1606 to 1607 expedition to North America. On December 20th, 1606, John Ratcliffe departed England as captain of the Discovery, taking an indirect route that passed through the Canary Islands and the West Indies before reaching the coast of Virginia. There in 1607, the expedition established Jamestown, the first permanent English settlement in what would become the colony of Virginia. Upon arrival, Captain Edward Maria Wingfield was elected president of the governing council on April 25th, 1607, with Ratcliffe appointed to the council shortly thereafter in May. However, the early months at Jamestown were marked by severe hardship, internal dissent, and leadership struggles. By September of that year, Ratcliffe, in alliance with John Smith, orchestrated the removal of Wingfield from his position. On September 10th, Ratcliffe was named the new president of the colony's governing council. Following the arduous transatlantic journey, the settlers at Jamestown faced immediate and severe shortages. Compounding these hardships, the region experienced the most severe drought in over 700 years between 1606 and 1612, significantly hindering both the colonists and the Powhatan tribe's ability to cultivate crops and access clean water. Tensions soon escalated between John Smith and John Ratcliffe. At one point, Ratcliffe ordered Smith to be executed by hanging, a sentence that was ultimately not carried out. Smith later asserted that Ratcliffe had been removed from his leadership role, though historical records on this claim remain inconclusive. Ratcliffe's reputation among the settlers suffered further due to his approach to trade with the indigenous population. Smith criticised him for being overly generous, warning that such practices would quickly deplete their trade goods. By the summer of 1608, Ratcliffe had lost the confidence of many colonists who disapproved of his leadership during a time of acute food scarcity and crisis. By January 1608, the Jamestown colony was still plagued by widespread illness and disease, leading to continued loss of life among the settlers. Facing mounting challenges, Ratcliffe and members of the governing council began planning a return to England aboard the Discovery. Ratcliffe stepped down from his role as president either through resignation or removal in July 1608, 2 months before the scheduled end of his term. Later that year, Ratcliffe departed for England with Captain Christopher Newport. According to John Smith, this departure was motivated by concern for Ratcliffe's safety, lest the company should cut his throat. However, Ratcliffe returned to Virginia in 1609 aboard the Diamond, one of the vessels in the third supply mission. Around the same time, John Smith sustained serious injuries from a gunpowder explosion in his canoe and left for England on October 4, 1609 for medical treatment, never to return. The winter of 1609 to 1610 marked the onset of the infamous starving time in Jamestown, during which the colony faced extreme food shortages and widespread mortality. At the beginning of the winter, the settlement had approximately 500 inhabitants. By the spring, only 61 had survived. In November 1609, John Ratcliffe led a small group of about a dozen men on an expedition to the Powhatan capital of Oripax in search of food. The group was invited by members of the Powhatan tribe to participate in what was presented as a trade meeting, with promises of receiving corn in exchange. However, the encounter turned out to be a deadly ambush. The Powhatan killed the colonists, and Ratcliffe was captured and taken to the village, where he met a particularly brutal end. According to a surviving member of the party, Captain William Fettyplace, whose account was later recorded by English explorer George Percy, Ratcliffe was bound to a stake near a fire and tortured. Women of the tribe flayed him using sharpened mussel shells, burning the strips of skin in the fire as he was forced to watch. But since we didn't expect any help to arrive soon, I sent Captain Ratcliffe to Powhatan to try and get food and corn through trade. At first, that sly old fox Powhatan pretended to be friendly and willing to trade, but he actually planned to destroy them, as later became clear. Part of the reason this happened was because of Captain Ratcliffe's gullibility. He had Powhatan's son and daughter on his ship, but he let them go back to shore freely. If he had kept them as hostages, they might have guaranteed his safety. Later, he didn't maintain proper guards and allowed his men to wander off in small groups into the native homes. When the cunning old king saw the right moment, he killed them all except Captain Ratcliffe, whom they captured alive. They tied him naked to a tree with a fire in front of him, and the woman scraped the flesh from his bones with mussel shells, throwing it into the fire in front of his eyes. And so, because he wasn't careful, he died a terrible death. This hasn't made Jack, and if you were being kept hostage by the Powhatan tribe, please leave a comment down below.